And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. The reason you can't eat before surgery is to prevent aspiration, which is when stomach contents such as food or liquid are inhaled into the lungs during anesthesia. While conscious, you can cough or gag to prevent this, but under general anesthesia, this protective mechanism doesn't work. On today's Open Connection, we return to the archives to bring you this story from 1999.
Making a cup of tea for her son Bradley wasn't something Janet Monroe could do for him the day he needed surgery. After a skiing accident, he was sent to the nearest orthopedic surgeon in Prince George, and Bradley couldn't drink or eat anything until after his surgery.
I couldn't have anything to eat at midnight, and we ended up having the surgery at 5:30. So it's almost 20 hours without food.
It took the Kitimat family 12 hours of driving through a blizzard to get to Prince George, and another 10 hours to finally get into surgery.
And by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he was crying more that he was hungry and that kind of thing, rather than, feeling any pain from his thumb. As from our perspective, we felt very fortunate that we made it to Prince George, which is still the broken thumb. So,
the Monroes aren't alone. Dozens of Northwest families have made similar trips. The challenges faced to draw specialists to Northwest hospitals are often financial, and the competition between Kitimat and Terrace to offer the orthopedic service has left mistrust between Northwest Community Health Councils, physicians, and the public.
This is an issue that this community fought for 5 years ago. You guys have damn nearly lost it. You need to answer the questions.
yeah.
Unfortunately, the NDP-appointed CHCs don't always have the answers from the health ministry. Last month, when the Terrace CHC chair was told to start recruitment for an orthopedic surgeon as part of the steps involved in creating a regional medical center, Kitimat and Prince Rupert CHCs weren't informed.
It gave us some significant cause for concern. We knew that Kitimat was actively recruiting. We knew that we had an orthopedic surgeon on the way, and the population base in northwestern BC probably would not sustain 3 busy orthopedic surgeons.
Kitimat CHC feared losing its funding because Terrace physicians had written to the health ministry asking for it.
The orthopedic surgeon would be better in Terrace for many reasons, and especially so that we could have here a good emergency service for trauma. At the present time, we have all the rest of the setup, including CAT scanner and nuclear medicine and this kind of stuff, plus the backup specialist, plus the intensive care unit. But we can't manage the trauma if it involves bone injuries, which often it does. And so those people would have to be shipped out somewhere else to get the treatment, and that is not good treatment. That is, in fact, quite dangerous.
Losing funding for one surgeon may not seem like much, but currently it's the lifeline for Kitimat's hospital. Without an orthopedic surgeon, physicians say there wouldn't be enough work to keep an anesthetist, and other basic services would disappear, like being able to deliver babies.
Then I again extend
After
the
some
offer that
local
was
government
made to the
and
meeting
public
at which
pressure
we're
from
not present.
Kitimat, the ministry changed its mind.
There are people in Terrace, for example, that are quite distressed that I'm taking the position I'm taking, that Kitimat makes the call on this one, at least to get their position filled. But that's part of it. I mean, we have to deliver healthcare services to the Northwest closer to home, and this is a crucial service in terms of Kitimat operation. Therefore, I see it's only fair that Kitimat gets its orthopedic surgeon, and we start working on the demand that's there.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Throughout his career, he held several notable positions: the Chief of Staff at Mills Memorial Hospital, the inaugural president and founding member of the Terrace and District Medical Association, and he served as president of the BC Medical Association. In 2016, Dr. Appleton became a physician lead for the Pacific Northwest Division of Family Practice. Let us return to the archives with Dr. Jeffrey Appleton.
But the lack of a Northwest Trauma Center may be equal to the loss of basic services in Kitimat's hospital.
I think it's really a disastrous decision for the area. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever that an orthopedic surgeon would be located in Kitimat when the rest of the services are here. And that's the basis of our compromise situation. So I really hope that will be revisited, and maybe that the politics will be taken out of the decision.
Things are pretty quiet in the hall leading to the locked orthopedic office in Kitimat's hospital, but it's not uncommon to take several months or even years to find full-time replacements when surgeons leave, especially when looking abroad. CHCs also face high per diem prices for traveling interim specialists without extra compensation funds from the health ministry. In some cases, specialists demand around $1,500 a day, and it's hard to find others to work for less.
And we really could not afford that amount of money. And that's not saying that we don't think the service is necessary. We just didn't have the money to do that. And so we didn't contact the physicians the last time who had demanded the $1,500. And but one of them will be coming, and this time his per diem will be $500.
Terrace physicians have also suggested sharing an orthopedic surgeon with Kitimat.
Well, the kind of thing that's been suggested is that in order to assist Kitimat in keeping surgical services going in Kitimat, and especially anesthetic services, is that some of the specialists from Terrace could go and use operating time in Kitimat Hospital, thereby doing two things: supporting the services in Kitimat, and also having people in Kitimat get their surgery in Kitimat, close to their home.
But before that can happen, regional politicians believe better communication between the ministry, CHCs, and the public is necessary.
We must work together and be creative. We have to not be competitive, and we certainly must work together as a region in a sense of cooperation, that we all have a plus and there are no negatives.
If there's ever going to be sharing, there needs to be agreement with Kitimat CHC and physicians, and a guarantee to ensure the survival of Kitimat services.
What I would say is that at this point in time, I think that there has to be some cooperation from City Council, from the Community Health Council, from the doctors, from the community, perhaps to send a delegation down to Victoria to make a presentation to the Minister of Health, so that they understand what the situation is. It's not a matter of Kitimat wanting to steal the services from Terrace. It's a matter of us wanting to have basic surgical services in our community, so that our citizens don't have to travel to Terrace. We don't want to be a satellite of the Terrace Hospital.
But it seems for now, the water may be too hot for the health ministry to handle.
When you look at it from our point of view, where do we go? What do we do in a crisis situation? Who's going to look after us? It isn't going to be these people. They're not looking after us.
For her and her son, there's only a short-term answer. Kitimat's hospital is still funded to recruit a full-time orthopedic surgeon, but there's no word from the health minister on the long-term future of the service or where it will be based.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Ocular therapy, commonly known as ear candling, has its origins in ancient history. Research indicates that this therapy was utilized by ancient civilizations like the Egyptians, Romans, and Greeks to enhance healing on the spiritual plane. Let us return to the archives with Smithereen Andrea Paquin.
It's made out of beeswax and unbleached cotton.
Huh. That odd-looking thing is the device in question, the cone or ear candle.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is a candle.
Okay.
And I'm going to insert the small end into your ear. So right now it's acting as a vacuum, gently sucking out the debris and pollen and excess wax.
So why should we get that stuff sucked out of our ear canals?
It helps people with ear infections, people with headaches, migraines, chronic sinusitis, ear infections, plugged ears, numerous different things it helps with.
I would just like to state for the record, she has terrific hands, too.
It's actually quite a relaxing procedure, made even more so with soft music, candles, and a warm oil face massage.
How does your ear feel, Dominic? The end of the candle sort of tickles inside a bit. It's not uncomfortable at all.
People who might be interested in an ear candling will probably work somewhere fairly dirty or loud, like farming, construction, or at a bar.
What happens is the middle ear is supposed to have an air-filled cavity that is between the eardrum and the inner ear. Now, connected to that cavity is a eustachian tube. And what happens to most of us is that debris or fluid fills up the air cavity and sometimes the eustachian tube. And what happens then is pressure is built up on the inner ear and the small bones of the middle ear, which causes it not to transmit sound properly. This then causes ear problems and earaches.
It almost feels clear on this side. Like this side, I don't know how to explain it, but it almost is as if it is.
For years, Cormier has felt as if her left ear is plugged. After a 15-minute ear candling, she notices a difference.
It's way clear. I can hear, like this one actually, because of a cold, was plugged for quite a while. And it's almost as if it's sort of freer, and it's definitely clear.
Paquin says that was a little more wax than found in most ears, but you can imagine how getting that much out might improve things.
Well, when I heard about it, I was rather intrigued, and it sounded like an interesting idea. My hearing, I've had it checked and was told there was nothing wrong with it, but I can sense a real difference now.
Not everybody agrees with that assessment, however. A Terrace audiologist says a certain amount of wax is necessary in the ear canal.
For one, it's not a bad thing to have earwax in your ears. It does have a value. So there should be some in there. I think that's not a good idea to be clearing your ears out all the time on a regular basis. I've actually never watched it being done. I've read about it, I've read what they do, but I don't know any particular methods or, again, there's not a prescribed set of procedures.
Paquin agrees that taking too much wax out of the canal could be dangerous, but she assures all that, in her case at least, she knows how much to remove and what the signs are if it looks like too much may be sucked out.
You can tell me when you start hearing a crackling noise. That means it's sealed.
Bavera says letting just anyone candle your ears could cause severe damage.
I think the danger with poking around in an ear when you're not quite sure what you're looking at is putting a hole in the eardrum. I think is the real danger, the first danger. And also you can cause some trauma to the ear canal wall, and you can, if you scratch it, you can set up a cause for infection. And also, if you really need to have a lot of wax removed, I think it's a better idea to either have it done by your physician. Apparently that's probably the smartest idea, is have it done by your physician who will syringe it out with water, or they can pull it out as well. And they can take a good look, they can see what they're doing while they're doing it, they can see what's happening in the ear.
Coning could be considered one of the latest fads in the growing alternative healing field, but it's not a new treatment.
It dates back as far as 2500 BC, I've read, some places, as far back as the Egyptians using it.
I think it's a novelty at this point. I think that's more the reason that people are doing it. I don't think there's a real medical reason to do that.
Ear candling may work for some, but Paquin says there are people who should not have the procedure done.
There are people that shouldn't have coning done, and there are those people with ear tubes, with perforated eardrums, with osteosclerosis, congenital hearing loss, or...
Always use common sense with something like this. Don't let somebody without experience go sticking something in your ear, and get references from someone you know who's had a candling, and of course be very careful with flames around hair.
I think it's only as dangerous as the person that's doing it. As long as you have somebody that knows what they're doing and they're not going to stick the candle too far into your ear and they're careful with the flame, then you'll be fine.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
In 1999, Prince Rupert was a proud host of the BC Northern Winter Games, an important occasion to help build the community's foundation. This event led to the creation of the Legacy Fund, known as the Prince Rupert Regional Community Foundation, which began with $35,000 initial fund from the Games. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to archives to bring highlights of the 1999 BC Northern Winter Games.
Over a year's worth of planning came to fruition on February 4th as the 25th anniversary of the Northern BC Winter Games became a reality in Prince Rupert. For 3 days, athletes from all over the north took part in the games. Everything started on the Thursday night as out-of-town athletes arrived on the north coast. As the participants arrived, they were greeted by the many games hostesses and directed to the main gym of the Civic Center, where a large number of volunteers waited to register them. Considering close to 2,000 athletes, coaches, and officials were expected to be coming, you would have thought the gym would be packed, but efficiency was a key word with these folks, as people were quickly processed. About 1,100 of the athletes were minors who needed to be put up by host families in the community. Accommodations Director Andre Fawcett was pleased with how everything went.
We had a lot of people come through for us, as you know, in the last few days. And as it turned out, numbers changed as people came in, and we actually had some families that didn't have to take in 14 kids, they only had to take in 6 kids. So they were happy, and we were very, very pleased.
The weekend wasn't without its hiccups, though, as rough weather caused delays.
The QCI ferry, as you know, was over a day late, and they're also going to be a day late leaving. And I asked those parents, those host families, if they take their children, keep them over on the Sunday, which is totally unexpected, and we had absolutely no problem. Everybody came through for us.
The number of athletes was down this year, but were considered good overall, especially with the hard times Northern BC is going through.
We ended up with probably in the neighborhood of maybe 1,650 actual athletes coming to town. I thought that was quite, really, really well. It could have been worse, but the economic situation in the whole north, I think, helped play a factor in the numbers.
There were a total of 25 sports in this year's games, which breaks down into about 35 individual events. To organize them had to be a daunting task for the Winter Games Sports Events Committee, but DeBlas is happy with the results.
We had no real major problems, a few glitches, I guess, with the Queen Charlotte Islands having problems getting over here, but we finally got him into the most of the games on Saturday morning, but overall, I think it went just absolutely excellent.
All of the events kicked into high gear on the Friday morning, but the real fun was that evening as athletes, games directors, and dignitaries gathered at the Prince Rupert Performing Arts Center to officially kick the games off. The opening ceremonies were filled with speeches, music, culture, and a little fire. Torch fire, that is. Also on hand were the Undecideds, who created a large buzz by performing the game's theme song, Spirit of the Games, with composer Nick Adey. On Saturday, the focus shifted back to sports as the medals started to be handed out. Traveling around to the different events, it was nice to see the number of people in the audience at each venue.
The wrestling event was really well attended. The hockey, and actually I'm going to go on and on. The figure skating, it was just a tremendous crowd here in Prince Rupert yesterday. And our martial arts events, taekwondo, karate type of sports, I thought all the events were well attended.
Speaking of attendance, Special Olympics events saw some growth in the 25th edition of the Games.
We saw almost nearly maybe 55 athletes competing in the Special O. Now we had, say, about 20 in swimming and probably the other 35 in bowling. It would be nice to see us expand the Special O into other areas, say maybe floor hockey. But time will tell. I think Special O it's good to have them in the games.
It's a good experience for the athletes. They get to travel out of town, they get to participate at different venues and get a feel for that, and they get to meet new people and participate in different sports events. So it's definitely a plus for BC Special Olympics.
March says besides the fun of competition, socialization is one of the biggest parts of the Games for Special Olympic athletes.
It definitely does, because they meet new friends and they make new friends. They have a social event for them. Last evening, the Kin Hut, the BC Special Olympics in Prince Rupert, put on an evening for them of dancing and fun and door prizes. And a lot of them get to take home addresses of special friends that they've made, and it really is good for them. It's a positive attitude for them.
It's usual practice for the next host community for the Northern BC Winter Games to send a delegation to observe and learn from the current one. Fort St. John will host in 2000. Organizing co-chair Connie Richter says they were really impressed with the job that Rupert did on the 25th anniversary of the Games. She says there were a number of venues which just really stood out.
We were to every venue just about, and the one that really caught our eye was the most was the people that opened up the building for the wrestling. That was just totally awesome, because to see the people like to come out and watch wrestling, it is one of the big sport that is enjoyed by a lot of people, and for a company to do what they did for them to hold wrestling, it'll be hard to beat, but we're certainly going to try to go that same route on a wrestling venue.
Of course, without the kindness of sponsors, the Games would never have happened. The 1999 Games Organizing Committee had the daunting task of raising $340,000 in support. Fundraising Director Robert Stromdahl says the community and local businesses really came through for them.
Started with 3 budgets, basically. A very lavish budget. We went down to a normal budget, and then a very low-cost budget. And we'd covered the low-cost budget there probably late in January, and then further funds came in from the businesses and people, and we were able to put on a very good Games. And we, between cash and in-kind donations, we've topped $350,000.
And then there's the volunteers. Over 2,000 people in Prince Rupert gave their time in one capacity or another to make sure the Games were a success.
We really truly thank all the citizens of Prince Rupert, and even those that came to visit us, because they even pitched in and helped. Our community, our businesses, the city hall, the city crews in this town, like our city utilities that looked after the roads and that, they were fantastic. The snow clearing, then the rain, then the wind, then the snow. It was wonderful what they did for us. Thank you so very much.
Lutz has given about 2 years of her time to the organizing of the Games in Rupert. She says she's almost sad to see it over.
Everybody's had such a great team. I got out to not all of the events, but most of the events. There was lots of Rupert people out there watching and cheering athletes on. It was wonderful. There was so much energy in this town, good energy. It was just great.
Yeah, I hear you. I stopped voting years ago. I read somewhere that they don't even count the ballots. Now, what was that for?
I had to fact check you because you were spreading misinformation. This is why we need credible journalists who fact-check information before sharing it.
Got it. I guess I will vote. Come on. Up we go. Can't even remember where I read that.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.